story of Michael Bisping Part 7. 17 days Michael Bisping was on top of the world. He had just beaten the unbeatable Anderson Silva in a bloody, 5-round war. He had faced his demons, survived a near knockout, and proven to everyone, and to himself, that he was one of the best fighters on the planet. He was a hero, but he was not the champion. He was 37 years old, blind in one eye, and had just gone through one of the hardest fights of his life. He was not thinking about a title shot. He was thinking about healing. He was in Toronto, Canada, living a different life. He was on the set of a movie, XXX, Return of Xander Cage, playing a villain. He was an actor now, a respected UFC veteran. This, he thought, was the next chapter of his life. Then, 17 days after his victory over Silva, his phone rang. It was the UFC. The middleweight champion, Luke Rockhold, was scheduled to defend his title in a rematch against Chris Weidman at UFC 199. But Weidman had suffered a severe neck injury and was forced to pull out. The UFC's first choice for a replacement, Ronaldo Souza, was also injured. So, the UFC was calling their next-ranked contender the guy who had just beaten Anderson Silva. They were calling Michael Bisping. The offer was insane. The fight was on June 4, 2016. It was only 17 days away. Bisping was not in a training camp. He was on a movie set. He was not in fighting shape. He would have to lose a massive amount of weight in just over 2 weeks. And the opponent was not just any champion. It was Luke Rockhold. Rockhold was a man who, at the time, seemed invincible. He was tall, athletic, and skilled everywhere. And he had already fought Michael Bisping 2 years earlier. In that fight, Rockhold had completely dominated Bisping, dropping him with a head kick and then choking him out with a guillotine submission. Rockhold had not just beaten Bisping. He had humiliated him. The entire world saw this as an impossible task. The odds came out, and Bisping was a massive underdog, as high as plus 500. He was a one-eyed veteran, coming off a movie set with no training, to fight the champion who had already destroyed him. It was seen as a guaranteed loss, a final payday for the old gatekeeper. But the world did not see what was inside Michael Bisping. For a decade, he had been told he was not good enough. He had been the butt of jokes. He had been a gatekeeper. He had lost his title eliminator fights. He had lost his vision. And now, after 10 years of fighting, after 25 appearances in the UFC octagon, this was his first and only chance to fight for the championship. He said yes. The 17-day training camp was a blur of brutal weight cutting and media. Rockhold, the champion, was incredibly arrogant. He mocked Bisping at the press conferences. He was, in his own words, taking Bisping for granted. He saw this as an easy money fight. This disrespect only added fuel to Bisping's fire. This was no longer just a fight for a belt. It was personal. On June 4, 2016, Michael Bisping walked into the arena in Inglewood, California, for UFC 199. He was, by far, the biggest underdog on the entire card. He was walking to the cage to face the man who had choked him unconscious. The bell rang for round 1. Rockhold came out, just as he had in the first fight. Relaxed, confident, his hands low, his chin high. He was treating Bisping like he was not a threat. Bisping, however, was not the same fighter. He was a man with nothing to lose, driven by a decade of frustration. He was a patient predator, his one good eye scanning for a single mistake. 3.5 minutes into the first round, Rockhold, backpedaling, made the mistake Bisping was waiting for. He circled away, his chin exposed. Bisping stepped in and unleashed a perfect, powerful left hook. Connected clean on the jaw. Rockhold dropped. The crowd gasped. The champion was down. Rockhold, stunned and hurt, scrambled back to his feet, but he was on wobbly legs. Bisping did not panic. He did not rush in wildly. He calmly walked him down, and as Rockhold tried to get his footing, Bisping landed another perfect left hand. This time, Rockhold was out. He crumpled against the fence. Bisping swarmed him, landing 2 more punches on the ground before the referee, John McCarthy, could dive in and stop the fight. It was over. Michael Bisping stood up and walked away, a look of pure, shocked ecstasy on his face. He jumped onto the top of the cage, pointing at the commentators who had all said he would lose. He pointed at the crowd who had booed him for years. He had done the impossible. 83 minutes and 36 seconds of the first round. Michael Bisping, the kid from Clitheroe, the man who had worked in a slaughterhouse, the eternal gatekeeper, the guy with one eye who took a fight on 17 days' notice, had knocked out the unbeatable champion. He was the first British champion in UFC history. In his post-fight interview, with the 185-pound gold belt wrapped around his waist, he grabbed the microphone. This was my dream, he screamed. Nobody was taking this away from me. 2 weeks, 2 days, 2 hours, 2 minutes. I'll fight anybody on a moment's notice. Michael Bisping was, at long last, the king. He had reached the top of the mountain. Now there was only one thing left to do: get revenge.